This is Brent Clean Air Systems, the great hope of the Australian boxing world. After 3 fights and only 2 convictions, his manager believes that Brent is now ready to face the great Paul Wilcox. Every morning he jogs the 47 miles from his 2-bedroomed, 8-bathroom, 6-up, 2-down, 30-go house in Geelong to the government Egg and Bacon Research Centre. Nobody knows why.
Oh, he was such a pretty baby. Always so kind and gentle. He really was considerate to his mother, and not at all the kind of person you'd expect to pulverise their opponent into a bloody mass of flesh and raw bone, spitting teeth and fragments of gum into a ring which has become one man's hell and little Brenty's glory.
Every morning, Brent gets up at 3 o'clock and goes back to bed again because it's far too early. At 7 o'clock, Brent gets up, he has a quick shower, a rub down, gets into his tracksuit and goes back to bed.
I used to wake Brent up with a crowbar to the back of the head, but I recently found I wasn't getting through to him anymore. So now I'll wake him up with a good steel peg through his skull.
For breakfast every day, Brent gets a plate of liver and bacon under his chair and locks himself in a cupboard.
He's having a lot of medical difficulties with his breakfasts, but this is temperament, caused by a small particle in his brain, in his skull. Once we've removed this, he'll be perfectly alright.
At 10:30 every morning, Brent arrives at what he thinks is the gym. Sometimes it's a sweep shop, sometimes it's a private house. Today it's a hospital. For lunch, Brent crouches down in the road and rubs gravel into his hair. But lunch doesn't take long. Brent's soon up, back on his feet, and back to bed. And his trainer has to run the 4,165 miles from his 2-bedroom, 6-living-room treehouse in Kyoto to wake him up.
When Brent is in a really deep sleep, like this one, the only way to wake him up is to smack him in the head with a wooden plank.
What is he like in the ring, this human dynamo, this 18-stone bantam-weight battering ram? We asked his sparring partner and one childhood mate, Moron Spencer.
Well, I think that if Brent keeps his right up, gets him with the left jab, and takes the fight to his man, well, he should go for a cut eye in the third and put Wilcox on the canvas by 6.
Brent's opponent in Tuesday's fight is Paul Wilcox, the Newtown boy who was a shorthand typist before turning pro in 2015. How does he rate his chances with Brent?
I'm a southpaw and I think this will confuse him, particularly with his brain problems.
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, on my right, from the little town of Geelong, from the little suburb of Crayo, Mr. Brent Clean Air Systems. And on my